If you want to improve in your leadership and speaking, then you must have this one element. That's what we're talking about today. Without it, you will not become the leader or speaker you desire to become.
Welcome to Advance with Mike Acker, the podcast designed to help entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals alike break through barriers by improving their practical leadership skills and increasing confidence in speaking. Your host is a best-selling author, executive coach, and founder of the Advance Public Speaking School and Advantage Publishing Group, two companies dedicated to providing an edge for leaders. Find out more about Mike at mikeacker.com. Now here's your host, Mike Acker.
What is the one aspect that will really transform your leadership and your speaking? Self-awareness. Being aware of your presence, being aware of how you come across, being aware of the space that you take up. How do we increase our self-awareness? Now, this is a vital part of emotional intelligence. One of my colleagues, Steve Gutser, talks about this and does an incredible job of really walking people through self-awareness. And now it's an area that I've begun to work on with some of my clients and some workshops, helping people increase their emotional intelligence of that ability of how they come across and how they connect with others to foster better teamwork as an individual, as other individuals come together. But where does it start? Where does emotional intelligence, where does that start? It starts with self-awareness. So let's walk through self-awareness and what to do with that today. This applies to our leadership. It also applies over to our speaking, because as you know from this podcast and this show, that leadership and communication go hand in hand. So how do we start with self-awareness? We need to see what other people see. In the book, Lead with No Fear, I talk about how there's a lettuce in your teeth moment. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know that moment where you come to the mirror after a full day of activity, and then all of a sudden you notice that you have lettuce in your teeth. Now, right now, it doesn't matter as much because most of the time people are wearing masks. But what if you've been on Zoom calls all day and you had your camera self-view off, and so you don't know what you're looking like, and there your face is magnified towards others. And at the end of the day, you step away from the camera, you step away from the computer, and you go to the mirror and you see lettuce from lunch right in your teeth. You know what I'm talking about, because you've probably had something like this happen before. Some big black seed from a bagel that you had, or from some lettuce, or you had a little bit of ketchup up here that didn't come off after you ate that big burger. Whatever it might be, you know what I'm talking about. Or you've seen it in someone else. And you always wonder, should I tell them? Do I tell them? I'm the type of person who just tells people. I don't even have to know you that well. I'm going to tell you that you have lettuce in your teeth. I'm going to tell you that you have a spot, because I'd rather you hear from me, who's trying to come across friendly, than someone else. I remember one time I was speaking and someone came up to me so nicely and said, "Mike, your zipper's undone." I thought, oh, I'm so glad you told me, because I was about to go up in front of a lot more people and present, and it would have been more embarrassing on the back end when I went to the mirror afterwards and thought, oh shoot, that's been down all day. We need people to point that out to us, because there's things that they see that we don't see. We might not see what's happening behind us. We have blind spots. We have blind spots not just about our physicality. We have blind spots about our own ability to relate with others. We do things, we say things that come across in ways that we don't understand, that we don't see. So self-awareness starts with seeing yourself and hearing yourself and understanding that how that is relating to others, understanding how others are seeing you. So self-awareness, you need to see what others see. How do you do that? Well, as a speaker, it means that you watch back the videos of you film of you leading a team meeting. It might be that you record the Zoom and then play it back for yourself. When I'm working with CEOs and executives and all kinds of professionals, we always record the session. I'm working with a couple today. We will record the session, and then they get to hear it afterwards. They get to hear that evaluated feedback. They get to watch themselves. And I always stress how important it is for them to watch it, because then they can see what I see. They'll have heard my comments, and then they'll be able to put it together with what they see on screen and go, oh, that's what Mike was talking about. That's what I do. Well, how do you do it for leadership? One of the great ways is to do a 360. So you do this evaluation of all your employees, of your coworkers, of the clients that you have, and you get them to buy in on giving you real raw feedback. And it can't be just a pep talk where everybody goes, yeah, they're great, they're fantastic. A scale of 1 to 10, most people rate high. It needs to be where this is what I see, this is what I hear. I've seen people do 360s and afterwards they come back unchanged, and it just feels like, hey, good, I'm awesome, I'm amazing. And that doesn't give them much. So 360 has to be definitely honest and usually moderated by somebody else. That helps you understand how other people are seeing you, how other people are hearing you, because then when you see, when you got that, then you can start to make the changes that you need in your speaking or in your leadership. I watch back these videos that I do, and I do them in a single take, partly because I want some flubs to happen, because I want you to be encouraged. I don't ever for you to go, I can never do what that guy says, because that's not my goal in helping you realize your potential. I want you to go, man, that guy's good, but you know what? I could do that better. And that's a goal. So I watch these back though, and I think, okay, next time I need to not wave my hand around like that or do this. I tend to do this at times. I need to not do that as much. And so watching it helps me see what you see, and that helps me get better in my own communication. For you, a great way to do this is put a phone up or record your next Zoom meeting, your next virtual meeting, and then watch it back. See what others are seeing, and then allow that to make some changes in what you're doing. How do we increase our self-awareness? First of all, we see and hear what others are seeing and hearing. The second one, we realize the space that we take up. Now, right here, I'm in a physical space. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, you can see that I have a physical space that I'm in. And I need to be aware of the space, and otherwise I'm going to walk off camera, or I'm going to walk away from the microphone and people aren't going to hear me. So it's so important for me to be aware of my space. And I'll even put a mat on the floor so that I can feel where center is and I can know where I should be. But understanding our space is so relevant in other areas. Think about when you're driving. Realizing where you are in the lane is crucial. Years ago, I traveled over to the UK with my dad and we did a road trip. We went all the way up from England up to Scotland, over to Northern Ireland, down to Southern Ireland, through Wales, and back to England. And as I was driving, I was always trying to remember I had to be on the left lane, because in the UK, they drive on the left lane, you crazy UK people. Of course, you're saying you crazy US people. And in that, I had to be realizing the space I was taking up. And because I was realizing it, I was able to keep on correcting myself from crossing into the oncoming lane of traffic. If you don't realize the space you take up, you'll take up more than you're supposed to, or you'll edge yourself in to someone's area. Now, how does that relate to speaking and to leadership? Sometimes you're in the space that you shouldn't be in. You're in an emotional space that you shouldn't be in. You're confrontational when you actually need to be empathetic, or you're just passive when you need to be active, or you're disengaged when you actually need to be pushing forward. And so you need to be thinking about the space that you are in, the lane that you need to be speaking in, the lane that you need to be leading in, understanding then how that's affecting the people around you. See, if I cross the lane when I'm driving, that's going to make people feel very nervous. You've had that happen, right? Oh my gosh, they're coming to my lane. So what do? You kind of scoot out of your lane, and you're even driving on the turtles on the side, or you're pushing into the lane of the traffic next to you, which makes them nervous. See, when we don't realize the space we're in, it can make people feel nervous. It can make people feel threatened. It can make people feel afraid. It's so important for us to realize the emotions that we're bringing up in others. So yes, seeing how they see us, but also realizing the emotional impact that we have on others. When that person walks into the room, they make everybody quiet. When that person walks into the room, they make everybody excited. What is the space that you take up in your work world, in your family world, in your community world? So to grow in self-awareness, see what others see, realize the space that you take up, and then act accordingly to make the changes you need to. See, if I see the lettuce in my teeth, then what do? I need to take it out. It's no good just going, oh yeah, okay, I see what people see. I got lettuce in my teeth. I guess I'll just go on with my day. Well, that doesn't help. That doesn't help anybody. You got to take it out because it's always awkward staring at lettuce in someone's teeth. You don't know where to look. But also, if we realize that we have a certain impact on people and it's not coming across the way we want to, then we need to make the change. Sometimes that change, often that change is much harder than just those outward physical changes that we need to make. Maybe we come across demanding and that people feel pressured. Maybe people feel like they have to work overtime when they're in our presence or working with us on their team. How is it that people feel around you? And then what changes do you need to make accordingly? Maybe you just need to state, I want to let everybody know that I'll be working extra time during this time. It's just how I work, but I don't expect that for everybody else. Maybe you do, and maybe that's the communication that you need to do. Whatever it is that you would take action according to how you perceive people seeing and how you perceive people feeling. You act accordingly. It's no good to know what you should do, but not do something about it. And that's where self-awareness is hardest. It's not the hardest just seeing it. It's not the hardest even just understanding it. It's the hardest to make the change. And those are the people we respect the most. Think about some of the people you respect. They aren't static people who have been the exact same their entire life with no changes. Maybe there's been a consistency about them. Like I admire Tony Cloud and Chad Alvarado and some others. I admire the consistency. But part of what I admire is that they've been consistent to make the changes they need to be consistent with who they want to be. None of us are perfect all the time. The people that we respect and I admire are the people who own up to the area that they need to change. I love this line from Tom Hanks in the movie about Mr. Rogers' life, where he's talking with this investigative journal, and the investigative journal is trying to get under Mr. Rogers' skin. He's trying to push him. He's trying to get him to react. And as he says something about how the kids of Mr. Rogers, it would have been hard for them to live with Mr. Rogers as a dad, Mr. Rogers takes it into perspective. And then I love what he does. Now that he has an awareness of how it felt for his kids, he thanks the investigative journalist for pointing it out. He thanks him. In other words, he accepts that and he realizes that was a change that he should have made and that he's acting on in that moment. Humility. We're drawn to people with humility who realize that they're not all that no matter what they've accomplished, that they still have more to do and more to grow. So when it comes to you, where do you need self-awareness? Do you need to see what others are seeing? Do a 360. Watch back a video. Hear yourself. Understand that. Do you need to realize how you're coming across emotionally? What effects do you have on people? I love what Socrates says. The unexamined life is not a life worth living. It's so much of what my courses are in helping people develop confidence in communication and in leadership, and the pre-work I sent out to executive coaching clients. It comes from this whole idea of examining your life. It takes more work, but it's worth it. Because then you can make the changes that you need to make. See, next time you go out, I don't want lettuce in your teeth, but more importantly, I don't want you to come across in a way or affect people in a way that you don't intend to. I want you to be emotionally intelligent and able to see what others see, realize how you're coming across, and make the changes accordingly.
Thanks for listening to Advance with Mike Acker, a podcast designed to provide an edge for leaders through improving practical leadership skills and increasing confidence in speaking. Mike is a best-selling author and business owner who has helped many leaders increase their skills and their confidence, propelling them to new heights in their personal and professional endeavors. Join an incredible group of professionals taking the steps to become better leaders at connect.stepstoadvance.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.